All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of my never-ending quest to try to make things easier for people, my students at Rankin Technical College, my AWD1000 Web Development Technologies and AWD1111 database-driven website students, easier for things to understand, I'm creating a series of video presentations, actually 7 different series. I've done 4 so far, one on Flavio Cope's HTML ebook, one on his CSS ebook, one on his JavaScript ebook, one on his ES5 to ESNext ebook, and now I'm going through the Node.js ebook. It is 189 pages, and I'm about 130 pages in. Now, this is where it's going to start, as I mentioned to you before. We're going to be going through some stuff and skipping some other stuff. I'm not going to sit and read to you the methods that are associated with, the HTTP server, etc. But let's take a look at this because we've done this already. All right, I've already created this one. So what's happening here? Remember that the HTTP package is one of the packages that you are given by default in Node.js. So yes, you have to require it, but you don't have to install it. It's a default install. So this is making the methods in the HTTP package, such as http.createServer. This is making those methods available in our program. This is saying that we want to run our program on the default port 3000. You don't have to do that. You can just, but typically it's done that you figure out a port like that and then you give it a constant. This is actually creating the server. So this is creating the server, and when you create the server, it expects you to add, for lack of better words, basically we're putting in here a callback function, and when it's been created, we're setting the status code to 200. We're saying that what we want to return is plain text, and we want it to say hello world. All right, and then we're telling it to listen on port 3000, and again, we've got another callback function where it should say server running at http://localhost :3000. All right, and that's what they're saying in here. You can read all this all you want, but I don't think I'm shortchanging it or anything else that's in there. All right. So what's next in here? Sorry, got my own handouts right here. They're kind of sticking together. There we go. What's next is on making HTTP requests. All right. So how to perform these requests using get, post, put, and delete. All right. It says I use the term HTTP, but HTTPS is what really we should use all the time, the more secure form. All right. Now, we're setting up some options here. So we're setting up the host name, the port that this is on, the path to this, and that we're using get. But what I want you to understand is, okay, what we're doing here is we're doing just a simple get request. So this is saying we want to get information, as opposed to this one, which is doing a post request where it says we want to send some information. Put and delete, as it says, they use the same format, but they just changed what's being done. All right. So I'm going to jump all the way out into here onto page 134 and talk for a couple minutes about Axios. As they say, Axios is a JavaScript library that can be used to perform HTTP requests in Node.js. So we're going to get a quick little introduction to Axios, talk about how to install it, the Axios API, GET requests, how to add parameters to the GET requests, and how to do POST requests. So, as mentioned right here, Axios is a popular JavaScript library that can be used to perform HTTP requests. You can use it both in browser-based JavaScript and with Node.js. It supports all modern browsers, including support for IE8 and higher. Again, it's one of those things that's promise-based, and it allows us to write async await code to perform XHR, which again is the X. All right, sorry about that. But as we go in here now and start to take a look at this, all right, it says Axios supports all modern browsers, including IE8 and above. It's promise-based, which allows us to write async await code, and it has advantages over the native JavaScript fetch API, and here they are. It supports older browsers. It has a way to abort a request. It has a way to set a response timeout. It has built-in cross-site scripting, basically protection. It supports upload progress. It performs automatic JSON, JavaScript object notation, data transformation, and it works well with Node.js. It's a typical Node install, so npm install Axios, or you can include it by just basically adding a CDN in your JavaScript. All right, and it says you can start an HTTP request for an Axios object. So again, typically what you're doing then is you're using this Axios to go out and request some information from an API someplace. It says for convenience, you'll typically use the Axios.get and the Axios.post. One convenient way to use Axios is to use the modern async await type of thing. So it says this one queries the dog API to retrieve a list of dog breeds using Axios.get. And then it counts them, so it lets you know how many breeds are in there. All right, so let's grab this. Maybe we won't. Let's see. It says if you don't want to use async await, you can use promises. Yeah, but the idea is it should go in, and let's look at this. Maybe this will make it a little bit easier. So what it's going to do is it's going to go in, and this is, let's just go to the dog CEO like this. Okay, so if we go out to here, and no, this is the one that I'm looking for. Let's see, dog API. That's it right there. So it's going to go in here, and it's going to find this list of breeds. So there's the breed list. All right. Now, there's just a random picture of a certain breed. All right. So who cares? Well, notice I'm keep getting random things in here. But if I go in here and I put in this, so I'm going to dog CEO where I am right now. I'm going to the API and I'm asking for the breed. And I bring that in. All right. That brings up just the breed. Well, actually, what I want in here is this has changed a little bit since the last time I was out here, but let me look because we'll figure it out. I'm going to go to the documentation here. All right, so if we do this, I guess that's kind of what we had before, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. This is going to list every breed of dog there is. All right, what do I mean? Well, when you start looking in here, this is inside of a thing called message. All right, and notice we've got, these are different breeds. Under Australian, we've got Shepherd, under etc. But if what this is meant to do is it's meant to go in there and count all these in the example that we just showed. So it's going to go through this, and it's going to figure out how many there were in there. All right, you can do that using await and async, or you can do it using promises. Not only that, when you ask for information, you can pass parameters in. All right, And what's a parameter? Well, typically that's it here. And it's usually, let's cancel that. But what it is it's the query string. So it's with the question mark and what comes after it in the URL. It's extra information that a GET request needs to be able to do its thing. All right. So there's not only is there an Axios.get, there's an Axios.post. All right. Where if you want to send things out, you're able to do that. All right. The next thing that's discussed in here are WebSockets. And I believe in transparency, so I'm just going to tell you the truth. I haven't done very much with this. All right. Not very much at all. All right. But I know that WebSockets are a mechanism that can be used to allow HTTP communications in web apps. So if you want to be able to set something up where maybe you create your own little social media app, and if you log on, you'll be over here, and you can send out messages, and other people that are logged on, they can send out messages as well. As it says, they're an alternative to HTTP communication in web applications. They're supported by virtually every browser. So how are they different? Whereas HTTP request is a request response protocol, all right, the server returns some data while the client requests it. With WebSockets, it's different in that first, the server can send a message to the client without the client explicitly asking for something. Next, the client and server can talk to each other simultaneously. There's very little overhead. As it says, whereas HTTP is great for occasional data exchange and interactions initiated by the client, and it's simpler to implement, WebSockets are great for real-time and long-lived communication. So if I wanted to basically set something up kind of like a Microsoft Teams almost, all right, and they require more overhead. All right, I'm not going to go through this at all. It's fairly complex. I've never done any work with it, so why should I waste your time going through this? All right. Now they talk in here a little bit, and they mention about secure connections and stuff in here. Let's see. This is more of the HTTP versus HTTPS stuff in here, okay? All right, but I'm just going to jump down to here where it talks about file descriptors. All right. Now, one of the things that is built in here, whoops, I didn't want to do that. One of the things that is built in, one of the built-in modules that you have available to you in Node.js is the file system module, FS, file system. And there's a lot of things that you can do with the file system. Again, since it's built in, you don't have to install it, you just require it. So there's things you can do. For example, you can open files. All right, and you can open them in many different ways. R+ for reading and writing, W+ for reading and writing, and A for appending, A+ for reading and writing. Again, there's just a lot of ways that you can set this different stuff up in here. You can get information about your file. In other words, you can get things like the path, the directory that it's in, the size of the file in bytes, etc. This is where, like I said to you, I don't want to waste your time by me saying file paths, how to interact with file. Why should I do that? All right, there are some examples in here, but they're pretty simplistic. The directory name, the base name, the extension, etc. And they've got some examples that you can work with in here with this. You can read files, you can write to files, you can append to files, you can work with file streams. So as it says in here, all those methods write the full content to the file before returning control back to the program. All right. You can interact with folders, do things like see if a folder exists or create new ones, find out what's in a folder, rename folders, remove folders, etc. So your basic type of file operations you can do in here. Now, with that said, all right, with that said, yeah, you can go in and you can do all this stuff, yeah. But it says it provides a lot of very useful functionality to access and interact with the file system. So these are the basic things that you can do in here. I'm not going to read these to you. A lot of these look very Linux-like. Things like change mode, chmod, like makedir, mkdir, etc. But they allow you to do virtually anything you'd want to do with a file. So leave it at that. All right. All right, I think I'm just about finished here, really, because I've got 29 pages left, but I'm going to pick it up in the next video, talking about starting with the path module here.